The only winning move.
It's the only move?
The only winning move.
It's the only move?
The only winning move.
It's the only...
Oh my god.
It's already being called
Game of the year.
Could it be more mouth-watering? World number 1, Magnus Carlsen himself, playing against the reigning world champion, because Magnus didn't defend, Gukesh D. Now this is round 1 of Norway chess, classical time control. Magnus opens up with pawn to d4, and after knight f6, does he go for the tried and tested c4? No, it's knight to c3 PO selected. The force is strong with this one as he essays the Jabava London. Now he does like these setups, as we well know, has to be true. He wrote it on the blackboard. Now we see pawn c5, e3, and it's actually Gukesh who lands a surprise first, because normally people take there, but bishop g4 played immediately, and it invites this sharp pawn to f3. You know, you chase back the bishop, very double-edged, but Magnus goes for this one, a move he himself called a wussy response. Now we see takes, and how to recapture. Did bro just mouse slip? He heads backwards with the knight there, the one that had already developed, but this is what he's got in mind. After this one develops, e6, he sets up the old party hat pawn formation. Everyone's having a great time. The bishop develops, this knight rotates around, does make this one look a bit clumsy now, and that's going to be pertinent, because after castles, does Magnus copy? No, he doesn't yet want to commit the king, so he plays this nudgy queen e2 move, pawn h6, and it invites a critical line, because look at what Gukesh is hinting at. Magnus has a think and goes rook d1 here, inviting this one. He went to the confessional booth and talked about this move. This is what he had planned. Knight d7, then he proceeded to go through a whole massive line that actually he then realized wasn't even necessary, because you can play pawn h4.
Yeah, just forget everything I said in my last confessional.
And there's this great line where you sacrifice a piece, but you get this massive attack. You know, here's one sample thing where I was clicking just to give you some idea of the themes, mating ideas, etc. Now let's run back. No g5. Gukesh didn't want a part of it. He plays queen to a5. Pawn's now defended, and there is this line where you can swap the queens immediately. Won't go down it. We're going to see it soon. Rook fd8 now played. Again, Magnus doesn't castle. He wants a spicy game, and he pushes with Harry the H-pawn. Andrea starts spinning the beats. Everyone's having a great time. Again, you can play queen a6, but Gukesh, keeping us on our toes, goes queen a4. And here we have actual footage of chess YouTubers everywhere trying to figure out what on earth this move is intended to do. Lateral pressure, bit of space for the knight. Who knows, right? But either way, after Magnus hops, we now get a change in the character of the position. Couple of knights leaving the board. This one attacked, drops back here, and now we get the move we've been waiting for. It's queen to a6. Offering the change of the ladies with Magnus Carlsen. That's risky. Loves to grind like a grandma deep into the endgame. If you go for it, you shatter the structure, but big b-file counterplay, Magnus doesn't want it. He wants to go for Gukesh's king, saying, I'm not going to be castling anytime soon. What a game this is. And now I don't love this next move, right? You could keep this bishop on, defend the king, but bishop d6. Now, Gukesh knows a lot better than me, of course, but somehow Magnus now just gets what he wants. That one leaving the board, the bishop, it was a little bit in the way, and now he can attack the black king. What should black do? Well, you do have to take on d4 first here. Won't show that whole line, but the point is, if you take with the c pawn, you open the king to counterplay. If you take with the e pawn, you open the king to counterplay. Let's have a look at that, because e5 played straight away. Sets up that big black center, but Magnus decides to threaten mate, and in this line, you can't go g6. You could have done if you'd taken first and white had taken with the e pawn, because now if you take here, you can play knight takes, queen takes, and you get hit with this skewer Imagine there's no e-pawn. These are some of the subtleties of the position. So after this mate is threatened, Gukesh goes for this one, but wow, that's ugly. A structure that only a mother could love. Of course Magnus doesn't blunder his knight. He's the world blitz co-champion with Nepo. Now we see takes on d4, pawn recaptures, c4 played, looking to use this pawn majority on the queen side soon, and I love this. Magnus can't hop forward with his noble steed, so what does he do? Well, he maneuvers like this. This is why he practices. This is why he visualizes such moments at the Oslo training camps, hour after hour on his hobby horse. It's for moments like this. Knight to e2. Pawn b5 played, of course. The knight hits the promised land, hits 2 pawns. Gukesh defends one of them, and he's saying, be my guest, take on b5. Then I bring the rook over, then I crash through here. It's counterplay, baby. So not played. We get rook b1 from Magnus, rook a b8, f3 takes some knight hops, and now Gukesh whispers, rah, he's a very modest, humble man. He's threatening to expand, but b4, he can have it all his own way. Magnus shuts it down, and we get one of the most epic moves in all of chess. It's en croissant. We even get it whispered in a French accent. Beautiful etiquette at the board. Rook recaptures, b4 now pushed forward, takes his played, rook recaptures, and you could swap those ones off. You can get over, stop the pawn there, but not played. Magnus slides with the rook here. He wants to keep it tense. There's no rook b1 to win a rook. Knight covers. Okay, very good. So rook e8 attacks the pawn. Defended. Now a check. King steps up, and we see an exchange of prisoners here. Who's doing better? Who's doing worse? No one has a clue, except, of course, Sir Stock Fishington of Cheshire calls it zeros, but it's anything but right. This is such a tense game. They're low on time. Magnus covers the pawn. Why not go rook h3 to win this one? Well, then your centre drops. So Gukesh finds this nice move, and it's pawn g5. He gets rid of the doubled pawns and then captures with the rook, which covers the centre. Plus, he's got an outside passed runner here. What a tense finale. Magnus now doubles the rooks. h5 pushing forward. They're getting 10 seconds back a move at the moment. That's called excrement. We see this one played to swap a pair of rooks. King h7. And now, of course, what do? How do you get your pawns rumbling? You smash through the centre of the board like Mario. Takes his played, pawn recaptures, and we've got ourselves a pawn race. Magnus now gets himself ready for it. Bit of water on the head. Let's go, baby. The h-pawn's pushing, and it's crunch time because the knight is attacked, and you can save it. I was clicking down this line, right? And if you want to save the knight here, this is how the line could roughly something go. Of course, the all-powerful engine, finds a draw, as always, brings the king around. Let's pause it here. It's a rough balance. You could have got something like this, but Gukesh plays the very committal pawn h3, sacrificing a knight. There's no move in the bar. It is technically drawing, but your path to a draw is now very, very tricky because after check, the queen made. Magnus doing the same. Of course, we wanted a knight just to declare check, but it wouldn't actually have been good. How would you now proceed from here? Well, let's take stock. You're a knight down as black, so you're looking for a perpetual check. This is the tightrope that you're walking. It's there, it exists, but how to check from here? Do you go with the rook, the queen here, the queen here? What Gukesh should do and misses is rook g2 check. Now, it's subtle stuff. If you block with the knight, well, then you can keep getting checked, and you can't actually escape these checks without giving up a knight. Then you're in a drawn position. So let's run back. What if you don't block with the knight? What if you run with the king here, like this? Well, then again, there's more checks. Where are we now? King c4, king c2. I was looking at different bits. Here's a nice way to actually be worse and lose the rook. Many, many lines here, right? But the long story short is it's technically a perpetual check. Here's one sample. Okay, let's pause it there. This did not occur. We didn't see the check. We saw queen h6 check, and poor Gukesh blundering away the game here on move 46, but in such a tough position, right? King c2 is now played, and you could check with the rook, but instead we see a check with the queen. At this stage, white should be winning in all lines. It really is incredible stuff. The level of accuracy that Magnus is bringing King gets to a4, and if you want to keep checking like this, you can, but the king runs away. And finally here, there are no more checks. The knight is an absolute stalwart defender of the king, always has been, always will be. So we get to here, the knight is captured, but now there's a problem. It's Magnus's turn to start checking. In these particular lines, his king is not safe. We get another lateral check, king f5, another check, king e4, and this is the truly incredible moment, because there's only one winning move.
The only winning move.
It's the only move?
The only winning move.
It's the only move?
The only winning move.
It's the only...
Oh my god.
David sounded like he's about to break out in tears there. It really is quite an incredible moment here. What's the check you should play to win the game? Now I'm going to show a couple of wrong ones. What if you check from here? Skewer, win the rook, lovely jubbly. Well, this should actually be a draw, because you keep checking and you check and the king has to keep going to stay with the rook. Fine, drawn game. This not working. What if instead you check from here? I mean, there's a really natural check. You just lost the game. The butt flap lifted. Now we see this, and suddenly black is winning. There's just nothing you can do. This is a sample line, but you lose pieces whatever you do. Here's another way to lose the game. So that was one option. So this no good, this no good. The move you have to find, rook e6 check. The goat does it, gives a little bleat, 98.9% accuracy there, unreal. Why the resignation from Gukesh at this point? Well, let's say you run, here's a sample line, and it's not even about winning the rook here, say king c4, well then you actually just checkmate the king. And this carries on, it's mate in 8, I'll pause it there. If instead you just try and win the pawn immediately, now there's even a checkmate like this. And this is basically the gist. The king is now getting mated with all of these incredible attacking ideas, or you win the queen. What an unbelievable game by these two legends. Have a look at the video on screen if you want to see another incredible game of Magnus Carlsen chess, and I hope to see you again soon. Cheers.